So with Andor Season 2 behind us, the show wrapped, and the whole season out, I figured today would be a good opportunity to discuss the season and my thoughts on the second season of Andor and the conclusion of the show. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So before we begin, obvious to get out of the way, this will include spoilers for Season 2 of Andor, so if you haven't seen the show yet and are avoiding spoilers, I recommend watching this instead. It will be a video about the Gorman Massacre, what we knew about the Gorman Massacre before this season. And one other thing, I don't usually do reviews on this channel, because quite frankly, I don't think my opinion on anything is any more valid or significant than anyone else's, but Andor does mean a lot to me, and I have a lot of feelings following the end of Season 2, so I want to discuss them. So don't expect reviews or anything like this to be commonplace. This type of video is relatively rare on this channel. Anyway, let's dive right in. So, Season 2 of Andor showed us basically everything from the end of Season 1 up to Rogue One, time span of 4 years, and as many know, the original plan was for Andor to be a 5-season show, with each season covering a year. Now, a decision was made to abbreviate the last 4 seasons down into just one, and that's what Season 2 is. Basically 4 seasons of planned show condensed into 1 season worth of episodes. They depict various events from the early days of the Rebel Alliance, primarily the Gorman Massacre and the build-up to the Battle of Scarif, so we can kind of see how things get in place for Rogue One and A New Hope. So before I get into any criticisms, I just want to throw out there that I really did enjoy Andor Season 2. I believe that Andor is maybe the best thing that Disney has done with the Star Wars IP since they got a hold of the property almost or over 10 years ago. So I didn't dislike the show at all, and I didn't dislike the second season. And while I have criticisms mainly about the timing of the second season, which I'll get to in a bit, I don't want to have any misconceptions that I didn't like the show or that I thought it wasn't worth watching. It seriously was a fantastic ride. It was emotional, and it tapped into all the things I love about Star Wars, which is the war and the politics. So I really did enjoy the show, but I do have some criticisms. And since, there's plenty of videos out there of people talking about how much they love the show, and quite frankly, I think a lot of you probably really enjoyed it too, so I would much rather focus on the things I disliked here just to get them out of the way. So let's start with the big elephant in the room, the fact that this is 4 seasons of TV condensed down into 1 season, in 4 3-episode blocks, basically each one telling a season's worth of story. I think this did some damage to the pacing. I believe that the idea of 3-episode blocks representing a year of time sounds good on paper, but when you actually put it into practice, especially when you're trying to tell this coherent story, it makes the character arcs feel like they're full of holes, and it does lead to a misperception of time, at least on my part, where events that are supposed to be a year apart feel like they happened, the following week, as opposed to a full year after the events that had come before them. I understand the idea behind doing this. They didn't want to spend a full decade making seasons of Andor, and well, I could have happily sat there and watched 5 seasons of the show. I understand what goes into making a production like this, and that's a lot, and for someone to put a full decade of their life into producing a single TV show is a big ask. So I totally get not wanting to do 5 seasons of the show. But that being said, I do think condensing 4 seasons into 1 is a bit extreme. Now, I don't like complaining about problems without proposing a solution, and I do have a solution here. For starters, I think the first arc of the show, while it was enjoyable to watch, could have ultimately been skipped or mentioned in the background. I think this season could have focused entirely on the events surrounding the Gorman Massacre, building up to it and immediately following it, showing the chaos resulting from the massacre, the evacuation from the Senate of Mon Mothma, the slow building tension on Gorman leading up to this disaster. We could have delved more into what this meant for the Gormans and the impact this had on the Rebel Alliance. And while I do feel like we definitely touched on that in the show, and we did see a sufficient amount of it, I feel like this could have been done in more detail, and that could have been the focus of this season, with a third and final season sort of setting the stage for Rogue One, tying up loose ends, and leading the Rebel Alliance to the point where they could prepare an assault on the Death Star, or at least prepare to get the plans for the Death Star, the events leading up to Rogue One. So, while it's not the same as cutting it down to a 2-season show, I think this could have worked in 3 seasons as opposed to 2, and we wouldn't have had the weird pacing issues with the second season. I also have a little tidbit I want to throw out there. This is entirely me. I think the idea of releasing 3 episodes a week is not the best. It didn't work well with my schedule personally, and that was a bit obnoxious. And it's a lot to watch every week, and ultimately it feels like it was over very quickly, because instead of getting Andor once a week for, months, we got it for a month. So, I do have those criticisms there, but that being said, I still absolutely loved the show. I love what we got, and well, like I said, the pacing felt a little bit off. The actual content of the episodes and the events being shown to us were emotional, impactful, and interesting to watch. Getting to see the way the Empire asserted its control over Gorman, the slow building up to the Death Star, and especially the realization in this last arc, the realization of the Rebel Alliance that the Empire is building a superweapon, and the sort of gravity of that situation. It was just fantastic to see on screen, and to see displayed in such a masterful way, and I, at the end of the day, would still recommend this season to anyone trying to get into Star Wars TV, but especially anyone who likes the military side of Star Wars. That's what this show has always been. It's the building of the Rebel Alliance, the political intrigue, the espionage, the shadowy elements of both the Empire and the Rebel Alliance facing off against one another in the tension brewing before the outbreak of the Galactic Civil War. But as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm just some guy, and my opinion on this is as valid as anyone else's, so I'd love to know what you guys thought of this season down below in the comments. And if you'd like to learn more about some of the events that tie in with what we saw in this season of Andor, I'll leave a link up here to a video I made all about the Tarkin Massacre, the first massacre that occurred on Gorman that's referenced very heavily during the Gorman Massacre arc of Season 2 of Andor. And like I said, I'd like you to let me know down in the comments what you thought of Season 2 of Andor, and what you thought of the show as a whole. Do you like it as much as I do? Did you find the pacing was off? Or did you like the idea of releasing 3 episodes a week? Did it feel nice to have basically a new Star Wars movie every week? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, or anywhere else in science fiction, you can let me know down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.